And we're back in detention. So before we get started with things, just want to let you guys know kind of what's been going on. You may have seen by now that we had a lot of problems with our Dragon Age Inquisition playthrough. So we have kind of scrapped that for the time being. We did post our test vid. If you haven't seen it, we call it We Made Something Beautiful. It's about our character creation. There's no video, but I do think the audio is worth you guys checking out. That being said, we have decided to start over with Dragon Age Origins. So we're starting that from the beginning. And that's got a bunch of us on it. That's got me, DJ, Joe, Brian, and Sean. We're also doing the Bat Friends back at it again with me, Joe, and Sean for Batman Arkham Asylum. So kind of look forward to all of those things. We're looking at kind of potentially Monday Batman, Wednesday Dragon Age, Friday podcasts. Our goal is to get you one of these podcasts every Friday from here on out, and we're going to be shooting for as close to an hour as we can get, kind of building up to that in the near future. Anyway, that being said, welcome to Detention. I'm Dan.
I'm Joe.
I'm Frankie.
I'm DJ.
We didn't go in fucking order, DJ.
There's no order.
So today, Ashley, Brian, and Sean can't be here with us. We're going to try to get into a more set schedule where it's going to be 4 or 5 people at a time. So you're going to not always hear all of us. I will probably always be around. Other than that, who knows? But we're going to try to set it at 4, and we're going to try to give a schedule of who's going to be where and when, and we'll probably tweet that. So keep an eye on our Twitter at HCA Comedy, and we'll keep you guys posted. That being said, what's on your minds?
I don't think DJ and I can sit next to each other.
Frankie's palms were on my mind. He's beating me again.
Like, past your head, past your skull, getting your fingers right there into your brain meat.
Mm-hmm.
What's that power where you can
brain
just, like, through walls? Like,
Intangibility.
There you go. I have that. I'm just going.
You know, Superman gave someone a lobotomy once, and it's one of the most, like, conflicting stories in comics. Do you want to be a conflicting story in comics?
Maybe.
Batman quit the Justice League over that shit. Or at least he would have if they didn't wipe his memory.
No.
And then he quit the Justice League because he found out they wiped his memory. On the topic of Batman, we got casting announcements for Deathstroke in the Batman standalone film.
Oh, we have a name?
It's Joe Manganiello.
I'm not familiar with his work, but...
So, from the research that I've done and what I've been able to glean, he's real big on... He was on True Blood. He was one of the werewolves on that. But the thing I find most enjoyable is, remember back to the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies?
Yes.
He was Flash Thompson.
Oh.
So, Flash Thompson's all grown up and he's Deathstroke now.
Okay.
I mean, he looks the part. He's got that kind of combination of what looks like, athleticism, and he's old enough that it's believable that he could be Deathstroke. So I'm excited to see what he can bring to the table. As far as other superhero news, we got Wonder Woman around the corner, and Stephen Strange, I think, is the next Marvel one due out.
Yes.
Definitely excited for Wonder Woman. I don't know whether or not I'll go see Stephen Strange just because I'm not the biggest Marvel fan, and frankly, I feel like I got all the Stephen Strange I needed with like the old school Spider-Man cartoon and like X-Men and all those. So maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't. Either way, Benedict Cumberbatch is a great actor and he'll probably do a great job.
I'll probably end up seeing it. I kind of want to be really, really drunk when I see it, though.
That being said, if I'm going to see a Marvel movie, I'd probably rather pay to see it in theaters than to wait and catch it at home and be disappointed.
Yeah. I mean, the way I've always felt about movies is the only movies I'll still go out and pay money for are the grand spectacles, the big special effects pieces. Because I want my money's worth and I want to see it on the big screen the way it was intended to see and catch all the cool stuff that happens. And since this looks like it's Inception with Magic Iron Man, I'll give it a view.
as far as movies that are spectacle go, I know we're a long way away from it, but I am still really excited for Pacific Rim 2.
What's the deal with that? Is it in development hell or what?
It's just that's slow going. They were writing it. I think there was a lot of casting issues with it. I know at this time Charlie Hunnam is not attached to the project, so
that's unfortunate.
They're either going with a completely different story at a different point in the timeline, which I'd be really okay with, or they're going to do a time jump, and we're going to have some other great enemy that humanity's going to have to face. But last I heard, John Boyega was attached to the project.
I'm okay with that.
I don't know where he's going to find time in between Star Wars, but as long as that still holds true, I'm excited for that.
Well, considering episode 8, 8 was pushed back like half a year because Disney didn't want a cross-contamination with Star Wars stealing away from Pirates of the Caribbean's dwindling audience.
Is that why?
Yeah.
There's another one.
Oh, there's going to be 2 more Pirates movies.
The 5th has been in development for like 10 years.
What?
For like 3 years. Like 4 wasn't that long ago.
Stranger Tides came out like 3 years ago.
What?
I don't know. I never saw it.
Why are they continuing it?
Because
they still print money,
and they that was what they signed everyone back on for, was another full trilogy.
What is it even going to be about?
Will is supposed to come back in 5, isn't
he? So they can print more money.
Because his time as the captain of the Dutchman, I think, is over.
Is that how that works now?
Yeah.
That had a time limit?
Yeah.
If you do the job right, apparently, it's got a time limit.
Well,
he got out for good behavior?
Yeah. Well, if I remember correctly, the way it works is if you do the job of ferrying dead sailors, and you're allowed the 1 night off a year.
10 years. It was every 10 years.
Is it every 10 years?
Yeah, because that was, if you watch to the end of At World's End, you get that 10 years later flash of Elizabeth and their son.
Yeah.
They see the green flash and the Dutchman shows up with, young Will.
Yeah. Well, the point is, they said something that he's free after 10 years of doing it as well. I don't know if that's still canon.
I don't remember this.
I don't know if it was in the books or the novelization of That World's End. Because all these movies have novelizations now. I could be wrong, but I remember hearing that there was a way for him to be free at the end of X amount of time.
I'm wondering if it's something as simple as, just find someone else to take over the ship, and as long as you haven't died...
Well, that's the other thing. He'd probably hand over captaincy to his dad.
Well, his dad is already dead, though. That's the problem. The reason why Will was able...
So is Will. His heart is out of his chest.
But that is the thing, is his heart is still beating, whereas his dad is more of a sentient zombie, is my understanding of it. Whereas Will was a living person on the brink, and that's why he was able to become captain.
Well, I guess that all goes back to whether or not the pirates that stole the Isla de Muerte treasure still had beating hearts or not.
True. Also, whether or not we want to acknowledge the fact that Tia Dalma, whatever her name was, is the goddess of the ocean Calypso, and whether we want to run with that.
Yeah.
Because that was always a plot element that made no sense.
It was too big of a plot thing in 3.
Yeah. Well, either way, part of the stipulations from the plan that I remember this vividly, but I could be wrong, was that what's her name? Elizabeth. I get her and the female protag of Black Sails confused because they're basically the same character, and they're both played by very skinny blondes. But I think she's Eleanor. Either way, Elizabeth had to be faithful for the time that he was away as part of it. And it's implied that she was, since there was the green flash and it was coming back from shore at the end of the movie. Either way, this is still way too many Pirates of the Caribbean movies. And
1 was great, 2 was tolerable.
2 was neat.
There was a lot of cool stuff.
2 was fun.
2 was fun. 2 was fun. That's a good way to put it.
3 wasn't.
3
was bogged down a lot.
I could skip the first half of 3.
3 could easily have been split up into 2 movies.
No, I wouldn't even go that far. I would just say that we got a lot of stuff we didn't need because they thought the audience needed to be told. Whereas I would make the argument you could have started with, like, the crew of the Black Pearl washing up in Purgatory or wherever Jack was trapped. That would have been fine. Could have started the movie there, and it's infinitely a better movie. Singapore was kind of a running fart joke. Literally. Like, it was a sweaty fart joke. And you don't even really get that much great action out of it. The best joke in that sequence was, where is Elizabeth keeping all her weapons? Ha ha, it's because she's a lady. Ha ha ha. Comedy, am I right, guys? It's Disney, please.
Either way, I am upset with Pirates and Disney because it means that it's going to be much more time before my next Star Wars fix.
We have Rogue One this year.
We do have Rogue One, and I'm actually more excited for Rogue One than I am for Episode 8 because Rogue One looks awesome.
I just, honestly, I wasn't that happy with Force Awakens. It was a fine movie. It was fine for a Star Wars movie. As a fan, I was happy. I just didn't like where they took it. I feel like there were bigger stories you could have told with that same cast. Like, that story could have gone in better places. I thought it was really cool that Han Solo died, like, in a way that made sense for the character and like where they took it.
Spoiler.
It's been out. It's
been out for almost a year now.
If you didn't know that happened and you consider yourself a Star Wars fan, you're an abysmal human being.
Zelda is chic, and Aerith dies.
Oh no. But besides, Han Solo has... Oh, Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford has wanted to kill Han Solo for 30 plus years now.
Yeah.
My problem with Force Awakens is that it did what Phantom Menace did. It didn't do what Phantom Menace did well. Force Awakens just threw you into it, did not explain anything leading up to it. Like what happened in the 30 years. It just kind of like, oh, you know all this, right? Or Phantom Menace, for all of its faults. By that I mean the entire movie.
It was a great world-building piece. It did what it needed to do. Which J.J. Abrams, I think, was like, in an interview when he said, I made the movie that I had to so the people who follow me can make the movies they want to. You didn't make the movie you had to. You made A New Hope with some twists. It wasn't that...
They even lampshaded with, it's just a bigger Death Star.
Yeah, for everything that this movie was lauded about, I think it maybe deserved half that praise. Now, was it great that they went back to practical effects? Yes, fantastic. Will that stick around? We'll see. Practical effects are expensive.
But as long as this movie is printing money hand over fist, I see the practical effects staying, especially because a lot of people had such a great reaction to them.
This is fair. And Disney has said, I think their official word as of right now is, we will be getting a Star Wars movie every year until they stop being popular.
So, forever.
They just confirmed that third anthology movie we already knew about. Officially.
So it's Rogue One, Boba Fett, and Han Solo?
Rogue One,
Han
Solo, and then a third one we don't know really anything about.
TBD, but probably Boba Fett.
Probably Boba Fett.
I honestly thought that was already kind of locked in. Was Boba Fett was the next one? Cause
it's never been confirmed.
But we have had casting of young Han Solo. Has that actually been finalized yet?
Yeah, yes. That was a couple months ago. I don't remember who got the spot.
But I approve. I approved when I saw him.
See, one of the Brits. There was a bunch of British guys who were in the final running for it. British actors are good actors. I just don't know any of your names, so I'm sorry for that. We have an international audience. Yeah.
We could hope.
Someday, maybe.
Please.
But I don't know, Frankie, do you have any thoughts on Force Awakens, Rogue One, anything coming out?
I am excited for Rogue One. I personally enjoyed Force Awakens. I saw it 3 times. I don't know. I agree that it was kind of like they were just redoing everything, but I just liked the characters enough that it didn't bother me as much.
Yeah, I can say that I love these new characters.
I really, really, really like them. I like that they didn't go in a very blatantly romantic direction with John Boyega and Daisy and
Finn and Rey.
Sorry, I know the actor names better than the character names because I am an acting whore.
Our words, not ours.
Theater whore, theater geek.
I did not make this any better.
No, it didn't. And I mean, as much speculation as was given about who Rey is, I think they made it pretty obvious. But
You mean the worst possible outcome that her character could be given?
probably. But I like that they're sticking with Skywalker lineage. I would like to see more of Leia, though.
I mean, technically, that's what Star Wars is. It's the story of the Skywalkers, as I
Yeah.
think George Lucas put it.
Yeah.
So,
It's Skywalker's taking turns fucking up and saving the galaxy.
yeah. So, I mean, it was pretty obvious where it was going to go anyway, even without the blatant addition to the movie. I felt like it was very odd that they just kind of compressed her looking for Luke in 10 minutes or 5 minutes worth, and then suddenly the movie ended. I felt like that could have been, I mean, I guess it could have been kind of tedious had they drawn that out, but I felt like they could have drawn that out a little bit.
That's kind of one of my major problems with this movie, and it's very indicative of a lot of J.J. Abrams stuff. Is he will draw out the exposition part of the story, rush through the climax, and then he's made a 2-hour plus movie, and he's got 5 minutes to wrap everything up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is one of my biggest critiques of the movie, and also Abrams' larger body of work, is he doesn't know how to do an ending. And honestly, for going back to episode 1, for example, because I remember, I think I posted this a while back when I saw the movie, is, again, episode 1 is a better world-building movie despite its mountain of flaws.
Mountain.
And even more so, one of the things is episode 1 can stand by itself. If for some reason, which is impossible, and episode 1 flopped, which would never happen because I'm pretty sure it made back its budget on opening night. But if it had flopped, we still would have been able to say, alright, this is what happens. Anakin becomes a Jedi, he betrays the Order, he becomes Darth Vader. Everybody can fill in the gap.
Mm-hmm.
Force Awakens needs to have sequels.
Yeah.
And that's its biggest flaw.
And they're still filling out prequels for it.
Yeah, the comic line. Which actually, the Darth Vader comics, which take place in between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, amazing. I've read the first 2 trades of it, and it is phenomenal work.
Is there a specific series of prequel stuff for The Force Awakens that we know directly ties into it, or is that just stuff that they've talked about but hasn't come yet?
I don't know if there's a series, but I know there is post Return of the Jedi comics. I don't know if they have a subtitle, but they have been releasing stuff post Return of the Jedi that I assume will catch up to Force Awakens at some point.
They do have a novel called Bloodlines, I think, which is like all around Leia and her machinations in the New Republic and her eventual fall from political power because it's exposed that she is Darth Vader's daughter. And so that's how she kind of falls out of political favor at the New Republic.
Which seems kind of like a huge plot hole in The Force Awakens. Is last time we saw Leia, she was essentially, A, her title's Princess Leia, and B, she's leading the rebellion, essentially, with, Mon Mothma and Admiral Akbar. Like, arguably, those were the three biggest figures in the rebellion.
Is Garmbel Iblis still canon?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Arguably, is he still, alive at the end of Jedi? No. Or she?
He.
But I do know Mon Mothma was the previous head of state for the Republic. Before whomever was in charge got blown up at is it the Hosnian system?
Something like that.
Yeah. But I'm conflicted on how that works. I understand they're trying to avoid a strong centralist opinion like what they had with Coruscant or Imperial Center as it was known. So apparently the New Republic changes capitals whenever there's a new head of state.
Which is incredibly tedious
Yeah.
from a logistics point of view.
Yeah. But on the other hand, that means that they're not completely screwed over by the attack by Starkiller Base.
But apparently their entire fleet was somehow stationed in that one system, and the Republic fleet is now gone. But if we take the movies as gospel.
Yeah, that was incredibly silly. Well, that's the other thing is they strongly demilitarized after the war, which was probably also a dumb move.
Isn't it like explain that it's like, oh, well, we have the fragments of the Empire, but they went off into like the uncharted systems or whatever it's actually called. But they're not going to be a threat again. No way this can possibly turn out bad.
Well, technically they're not. The Imperial Remnant is a thing in this, and they were a thing from the expanded universe. And it makes sense when you have a navy of 25,000 Star Destroyers. And so there are probably billions of people in charge of these, or not in charge, but as part of this military machine, that you're not going to beat all of them. So the rest of the Empire went off to the unknown regions, and for the most part they are minding their own business. The First Order is all the guys that were part of the Imperial Remnant that were then like, nah bro, let's take over the galaxy again. They won't see it coming this time.
I
mean, they literally can if they're from the Uncharted systems.
Yeah.
I personally kind of liked the theory that was getting kicked around a little bit, that it was kind of one of those things where, like, the First Order was really just, like, the military command element that was left over from the Empire, and they broke off into their own thing. And
yeah.
That's why they have this huge fleet and, the resources to build Starkiller Base and,
Yeah, it was basically the aristocratic members of the Empire. So the Moffs, the High Admirals, and to kind of use a real-life example, I think this is what they were trying to go for, is basically if the Nazi SS had managed to actually escape to Argentina like so many people think they did, and several did actually get there. But if they were able to then reform a military organization in Argentina and make it powerful and then try again, that's basically what the First Order is.
Better than most of the stuff a lot of people could come up with for how they got there.
Yeah, I'm honestly, the First Order is pretty cool as a concept. Let's take this already massive institution and indoctrinated military, and let's crank it to 11, then break off the knob. Children are abducted and put into the Stormtrooper Academy for apparently 30 years or something. Most of the crews are actually incredibly young, but they've grown up and trained on these Star Destroyers for life. And so it's not just the military, it's a cult.
Everyone's got a serial number, not a name. I mean, as a whole, like, for the Star Wars brand, I like you said, the Darth Vader comic, great, gets rave reviews. Han Solo comic, I think Luke's got a comic, and Leia's got a comic, and they all get great
Everyone's
reviews.
got a comic.
And, like, they all get great reviews, and they're all really popular, and that's great. And I love, the original trilogy. I love that timeline. I love all the stuff that came out of like the expanded universe before. It's Legends now, I think is what it is.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna push all the Star Wars stuff, I want more post Jedi before Force Awakens. There's 30 years of content that no one has explained before. Don't know why these idiots are clapping at each other. Probably because they hate me. But you have 30 years in a timeline that you haven't touched, and instead you're writing comics about a thoroughly explored 4-year period of time.
To be fair, they probably can't write most post-Jedi stuff because that would give away, Rey's parentage and stuff.
But you don't even have to touch Rey. I want to know, we've been talking about, the history of the First Order. What happened to Luke's, new Jedi Order?
But that might explain where Snoke came from.
Yeah, but does that have to be something that you go to a movie for?
We all know Snoke is Ezra Bridger and Jar Jar.
Or Mace Windu, or Jar Jar Binks, or Obi-Wan Kenobi, or Yoda. The list goes on.
He's Lex Luthor, isn't he?
Yeah. Totally.
Yes.
You heard it here, folks.
Lex Luthor is Supreme Leader Snoke.
Confirmed.
True science. Fact.
Yes, Frankie?
So I'm going to say it on the recording because I want it to happen so bad, but I think that our next podcast episode should be solely based on all 4 of us getting our Patronus.
That's not going to happen, and I'm going to cut this out in editing. But I'm going to leave the part where I talk about cutting something out in editing, just so the rest of you can all be curious about what it is that I may or may not have cut out.
Because they hate me. They hate me. That's what it is.
I don't know. We've still got some time. We could go in depth about what our patroni are.
Well, there's a test out now.
Oh.
And everyone is getting something different. There hasn't been an overlap yet.
Really? Because I've seen at least 2 different groups of 3 people on Facebook share the same Patronus result. I don't know if that's the same test that you're talking about.
Probably not.
But I've seen enough doubles of this to not believe that people are getting something different. There aren't enough animals in the world for people to get something different.
Ashley got a dolphin.
Can my Patronus be Darth Vader?
Sure, why not? Patronus is supposed to be the embodiment of your happy thoughts or some shit like that.
Yes, actually.
So it's
Expecto Patronum is meant to get rid of Dementors. Therefore, you have to think of your happiest moment in order to produce it.
So
there you go. Expecto Patronum. Darth Vader pops out. It's the only Patronus that can kill Dementors.
It has a sword!
Maybe.
So a Patronus is just the reverse of a stand.
Basically.
JoJo.
Oh, God.
Oh, thank God.
Not everything has to be JoJo.
No, but we are not slowly at all. This is the 3rd podcast in a row where we have talked about almost exclusively Star Wars and Harry Potter.
And movies.
Yeah.
Movies has been mentioned in every podcast so far.
Well, movies are easy to talk about, and it's something
We
I've
like
seen
movies.
a lot of.
True.
I feel like we should talk about something more pop culture-y without getting into...
Movies sounds like moving. We're doing that in the near future.
Oh,
High
boy.
five for that. Nobody?
No.
No.
Yeah! I win. So yeah, that's going to be an adventure. We're not going to tell you who or where, but it's happening.
Somewhere, sometime, in some undisclosed location, something is happening.
So yeah, I'm just going to start referring to everything we record in starting next week as in the office, and no one will know.
The alpha site. Well, fine. If we're going to do our Harry Potter one next podcast with our Patronus quiz, then we'll mix it up and have this one continue to be about Star Wars. What's your lightsaber color?
I have 2 lightsabers. One is orange, and one is Sunrider's Destiny.
Shut up, Dan.
Sunrider's Destiny is kind of like a teal.
It's Mountain Dew Baja Blast colored.
Actually, yeah, no, that.
I mean, which is a teal color. Your first answer was not wrong.
What does white mean again? I know I've always wanted a white one.
White is typically used by gray Jedi, and in the no longer existing canon, it was used exclusively by Imperial Knights, which are not part of the Empire, or the Galactic Empire. They're part of the Fel Empire, I think.
So I could whip it out and say, I'm a knight of me. Me!
Sure did.
Okay, well that's not even the reference, so you lose points for that.
I'm one of the knights who say me.
But either way, Imperial Knights are pretty badass because they're not one of the religious orders, and they're not necessarily light side, dark side. They serve the Empire, and they serve Order.
Okay.
So they're Paladin class.
My lightsaber is yellow. Sometimes it's orange. Depends on the time of day.
Ooh.
Are you saying that light can be perceived differently depending on the amount of light around it?
Yes.
No way.
Dun dun dun.
Joe, yours doesn't count because yours changes colors. You can make yours different colors.
Yes, I do have a lightsaber that can program the LEDs in it, but it's default set, and the set on my less expensive lightsaber is purple.
Can I be purple and just be like Miss Wendy?
No.
Yeah. I mean, you'll have to shave your head, grow about a foot taller, and tan a lot.
Justify purple. Stars were just silly colors that don't really matter, or only exist in like legends. You're picking a very specific color that has a very specific reason for existing, so justify it.
No, I don't want to because you're being very aggressive.
Technically, mine is canon.
Yeah.
In
DJ's color is canon.
the current canon?
Yes. Jedi Temple Guards have them. They have like shorter double-bladed lightsabers that are yellow.
In what do we see that Jedi Temple Guards show up and have yellow lightsabers?
Clone
Wars and
and
Rebels.
That.
And both of those are canon
They're
sources.
in Rebels?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I can see. I always forget Clone Wars is still technically canon.
Well, it's
The
it's
CG
tricky.
show
Yeah,
is
the
canon.
CG one. The animated show that tied
Inspired.
directly into the release of Star Wars Episode 3 is not.
Even though it is amazing.
Yes. And the better Clone Wars show.
Yeah, that would make sense or something.
Yeah, like, why does General Grievous hack and cough? Well, you'd know if you watched the animated Clone Wars series.
What was in like the the CGI one? Was it just a part of the process of him becoming like?
Yeah, he
Cyborg.
always just kind of had his cough and wheeze as far as the CG canon is concerned.
Instead of Mace Windu crushing his chest with the Force.
Yep. Like a bam.
So yeah, why purple?
I'm not answering that question, Dan.
Choose a new color.
I already said white.
Well, white's not canon.
Well, I don't have to be
Yes,
canon.
it is.
It is?
Ashoka has white sabers.
Ah, that's right, she does. Now she does.
Snippity snap snap. Snap snap.
But would you have known that if Joe hadn't said anything?
Probably not. And I'm
But it's
man
okay.
enough to admit that.
I got your back, Frankie.
Thank you.
Her back's over here, and you're over there.
Joe's the only one who really ever has my back, so
It's not even remotely true.
you were being very, very aggressive in this podcast, Dan. I don't think anyone's willing to believe you.
Always aggressive. I think. I'm bitter.
Specifically against me.
But yeah, you're the fangirl, DJ's the asshole, I'm the bitter one, and Joe does Joe things over there. Sean's got puns, Brian exists, and Ashley hasn't been on yet.
We'll have to remedy that at some point.
Look for that coming in future episodes.
We get another token female.
Well, it stops being
Well,
token if there's more
once
than
there's
one.
two of you, it's no longer token.
I'm literally just gonna cut all of that out because that's stupid bullshit. You're making life real easy editing this episode. From here to here. Done.
Oh, that was the whole episode. Darn.
Oh, shoot.
I'll just change it all to, like, blank space. Let's just put some, like, royalty-free elevator music over it or something.
Music.
Hi, Zach.
So, yeah, Zach,
Well,
there you
super
are.
Titans.
Happy birthday, Zach, whoever you are, you know. Consider that your ACA shout-out.
I was more fond of the Marasai myself. Only DJ's going to get that because he's the only one here on the couch that's watched Zeta Gundam.
Ah, yes. Gundam and JoJo. What would a conversation between us be without mentioning either of those?
Well, funny you should mention that because I found fan art of Char the Red and his stand, the Red Comet.
Excellent.
See, we were having such a nice conversation, shitting all over your lightsaber and your choices, but no. You had to go and make a complaint about it. Now we get this instead. I hope you're happy.
I am.
Dan, I believe the correct response would be yada yada does it.
Sure.
Because really, video editing is just a more practical version of Zawarudo.
Yes, now explain what that is to people who don't know.
Well, if they want to know, they should watch JoJo.
Part 3, Stardust Crusaders. Or read it,
Yeah.
But why would they start at part 3?
because it's the most standalone.
Stand alone.
Yes.
Oh,
It's also the most famous JoJo part.
Yeah. Although I prefer part 2 myself.
I prefer part 2. Then again, I'm only a part way through part 4 in the manga so far.
Is that Diamond is Unbreakable?
Yes.
The show always has such wonderful names and subtitles.
Well, we have Phantom Blood, Battle Tendency, Stardust Crusaders, Diamond is Unbreakable, Vento Oreo,
Venti Oreo Mocha Frappuccino.
I hate you. That's not a thing.
Stone Ocean, I believe, is part 6. 7 is Steel Ball Run, and 8 is JoJo Line, I think.
I think so. Either way, I'm still angry at Starbucks for getting rid of the Valencia Orange Refresher.
I'll let it go, Joe.
Never let it go.
Is that
Never
officially
forget.
gone? I thought they just like took it off their menu but still made it.
It's been gone for almost 2 years.
2 years?
Yes.
Yeah.
My Starbucks was behind the times then.
I mean, if you had overstock, you could sell it for as long as you had it. It's not even on the menu anymore. Like, literally, like, in the, like, menu computer. It's not there.
Oh.
Hasn't existed for over a year.
Well, that's fine, because as long as it's sealed, that stuff will never expire. Too much sugar.
Recently, the thing that you might be thinking of is we got rid of the orange mango smoothie. That got discontinued.
Mm.
So, some stores might still have overstock on that. Orange slices specifically came back for the berry sangria herbal tea, which is the passion tea with fruit in it.
0 out of 10, no wine.
Not even at the evening stores. You'd think they would have taken advantage of that. But yeah, sangria, no alcohol.
The store near me became an evening store and I didn't know what to do with myself when I walked in.
Well, you can't do anything with yourself.
In a month, I can.
Still a month
I was
away.
just very confused.
Yeah, all the evenings. Eventually, I think the master plan is eventually all of the stores in the U.S. will become evening stores.
I feel like a lot of them don't really have the location nor the size for it, though, because you have to be willing to want to sit down and stay in a Starbucks for more than 5 seconds to get your coffee.
Yep. A surprising amount of people come in all day, so like, you'd be surprised for how many are in for the long haul.
That's going to make the writing crowd a lot more entertaining, though.
Ooh, true.
Like those people who just bring their laptop and write all day.
I think my favorite, because there's a guy who always pulls out like the giant headphone, like studio quality headphones, and like the MIDI keyboard. someone was writing music in the middle of a Starbucks. That's always gets a good laugh. The people who use Starbucks as an office space would really benefit from these locations.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a boss who she's a journalist and I was her nanny, and she would, just to get out of the house, get into a more creative space, she'd go to Starbucks, she'd go to, what's the other one? There's another coffee place that's like kitschy and hippie.
Caribou? No, Caribou's
Not
dead.
Caribou. Caribou's dead.
Pete's?
Cervantes. Cervantes Coffee. It's near me. Sorry.
I think there's one out in Sterling Boulevard, too. I've never been because they have weird ass hours.
Oh, is it one of those like
check it out.
breakfast like cafes where it's like 7 to 3 or something like that?
I don't think the one out near me is.
The one out here is like 7 to 3,
Oh.
and then maybe open for the evening someday.
Hmm.
But that's still only like 3 more hours.
Mine has like live music sometimes. I think it's Wednesdays.
I think basically, but aside from Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts around here in like the metro area, the only big coffee chain I think is Pete's at this point.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, I went to Pete's and I got a chai latte that I normally get at Starbucks, and it tasted so much better.
Well, chai is an interesting thing because every chai can be different.
Very true.
Because chai, I think, just means tea.
Yeah, so it's up to the different spices, but honestly, that's one of the things. I just don't like Starbucks' coffee in general. It's very highly acidic, at least to my tastes. Personally, my favorite mass production coffee is Dunkin'.
I don't think I've gotten enough coffee from Dunkin' to have an opinion between Starbucks and Dunkin'.
Well, it depends on, I guess, what kind of coffee you're going to get. Because I don't know if does Dunkin' do espresso beverages, or are they just like iced coffee with different flavors?
I think some do espresso, but I'm talking coffee though.
Okay. Yeah, I don't. Very specific people drink Starbucks brew coffee, and there's nothing wrong with it. Coffee is so interesting because it's all focused on a different region. That being said, if we are going to have an episode focused about coffee, we should definitely save that for when Sean is around, because
Agreed.
Sean has his Coffee Master certification. Congratulations, Sean. But yeah, so if that is an episode you guys want to see in the future, leave a comment down below. Let us know what you guys kind of want us to talk about more, because we have kind of been very focused on Star Wars, Harry Potter, and movies. So if you guys like that and want to see more of the same, the like button, let us know in the comments. If you want to see us change, definitely let us know in the comments. Definitely planning on kind of branching out more to especially video games and stuff like that. But also a lot of kind of what we'll be talking about in the future will really depend on who is around, which 4 or 5 we have on the couch at any given time. Like I said, we'll be probably announcing that on Twitter or on our Instagram, both of those at ACA Comedy. I think Detention's about wrapping up for today. I'm Dan.
I'm Joe.
I'm DJ.
And I'm Frankie.
And we'll see you guys whenever.